Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we are tackling what I think is absolutely the ultimate thought experiment. Picture this. You wake up, check your bank app, and boom, you've just received $1 trillion. Okay, not a million, not a billion, a trillion. But there's a massive catch. You have exactly 24 hours to spend every single penny of it, or you literally lose the whole shebang.
So, could you actually pull that off? Could you spend $1 trillion in a single day? Just think about it for a second. What's the very first thing you'd buy? A mega mansion? A whole fleet of supercars? Maybe your own private island? Well, the clock is officially ticking, and as you're about to see, getting rid of this much cash is actually a monumental, almost impossible logistical nightmare.
Before we start spending, we really need to wrap our heads around this number, a 1 followed by 12 zeros. Right? This is not your everyday millionaire or even billionaire wealth. This is a scale of money that fundamentally breaks how we humans even understand value and purchasing power.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the math of extreme wealth is just totally mind-bending. Get this, the most expensive real estate purchase in US history was a $240 million penthouse. Sounds like a massive fortune, right? Well, if you have $1 trillion, dropping $240 million feels exactly like an average person spending like $60. It's the equivalent of just buying a new video game. It barely even registers on your bank statement.
So, we clearly need to spend fast. Let's start with the obvious luxury starter pack. You head down to the local exotic car dealership and just buy the entire lot. Boom, done. But wait, to spend $1 trillion in 24 hours, you'd actually have to buy out an entire exotic dealership every single second. Okay, scratch that. We have to think way bigger. We hire 100 people to track down the 100 most expensive super yachts in the world. Throw in a $1 million bonus for the mercenaries tracking them down. That writes off a quick $40 billion. Then we buy the biggest $2 billion cruise ship ever built, fill it up, and, just buy every single NBA team to come play on its court. After that, we pay for private concerts from Snoop Dogg, Katy Perry, and Beyoncé before blasting them all off to the International Space Station at $55 million a seat.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the problem. We just went on the most ridiculous, high-octane spending spree in human history, right? Buying up mega yachts, the entire NBA, space tickets, and it barely even makes a dent. We spent maybe $45 billion. But looking at the math, we still have over $950 billion left to burn, and time is really running out.
So we need to start breaking the rules of normal wealth.
If you ever actually want to spend this kind of money, you have to completely change your mindset. You need to stop buying things and start buying mass geography and massive systems. Now you might be thinking, well, why not just buy a ton of real estate? Okay, let's try to buy New York City. The entire city is worth around $1.3 trillion. Right now there are about 33,210 vacant units. Even if we somehow hired 33,000 people today and handed them each $100,000 commission just to snatch up every available apartment in the city, for us, it's still just a drop in the bucket. Buying what already exists isn't enough. We need to build.
So, we have to scale up to absolute mega projects. We buy a brand new private Gulfstream jet for every day of the year, and we fly straight to the Arabian Peninsula, because they will build literally anything. We're talking the world's biggest picture frame, the largest clock, a massive cube, those sinking islands shaped like the world map. We just buy the whole lot. We'll even commission a brand new artificial island for $20 billion. Oh, and we'll budget in $10 for the labor costs. But here's the crazy part. All of this mega infrastructure, buying up every wild project out there, still leaves us sitting on mountains of cash.
Just consider the sheer physical scale of the money we are currently failing to spend. Think about the Burj Khalifa for a second, the absolute tallest building in the world. If you stacked $1 bills all the way to its very tip, that giant tower of cash would only be worth about $7.58 million. To physically visualize your $1 trillion, you would need 87,000 of those Burj Khalifa-sized stacks. I mean, that pile of money would reach straight up and past the International Space Station.
Which brings us to a whole new strategy: buying countries and power.
So real estate and massive skyscrapers clearly aren't going to cut it. To drop $1 trillion in a day, you really have to start thinking like a 51st state. It's time to start buying entire countries and geopolitical power. Let's target the ultimate prize here, Greenland. Based on its mineral reserves, the world's biggest island has a theoretical price tag of around $200 billion. We can easily afford that. So step 1, we make the offer. Step 2, they obviously reject us, firmly stating they aren't for sale, which, by the way, is exactly what they did when the US actually proposed buying it a while back. So we logically pivot to step 3. We build a $50 billion makeshift military. And, well, step 4,
We just forced the sale.
And what exactly does a $50 billion private army look like when you have to assemble it in a matter of hours? Well, it buys you a fleet of F-35 fighter jets at $80 million a pop. It buys you 2 whole aircraft carriers, 3 destroyer ships, a ballistic missile submarine, and roughly 57,000 heavily armed mercenaries, which, if you're keeping track, is literally one highly trained soldier for every single citizen of Greenland.
Now, naturally, raising a massive private army and casually annexing Greenland might cause, some rumblings behind closed governmental doors. So, we are definitely going to need to buy some political favor to smooth things over. Looking at this strictly as a totally impartial mathematical exercise based on recent massive campaign spending, you could theoretically buy some incredible political influence. For about $1.5 billion here, nearly $2 billion there, and roughly $7.2 billion overall, you could hypothetically fund the campaigns of every single sitting member of the Senate and the House. Honestly, in the context of $1 trillion, basically buying the entirety of American politics is a remarkably cheap line item.
But there is a bit of a catch here. Money definitely influences politics, but it doesn't always decide it. Recent history completely proves this. We've seen countless campaigns where candidates vastly outspent their rivals and still lost the race. We've seen billionaires drop millions on local elections only to face just massive public backlash. I mean, even giant investment firms like BlackRock don't always get exactly what they want. Culture and public perception, those aren't simply items sitting on a shelf that you can just toss in your cart.
Just kidding. Of course they are. If we want to force public opinion in our favor, we just quickly pivot and buy the narrative outright. We just go ahead and purchase the Washington Post, Time Magazine, the New York Times, Comcast, and Fox. Just buy them all. Then let's look at global ad spend. The entire world spends about $1 trillion a year on advertising, which averages out to like $3 billion a day. So we can easily fund one straight week of absolutely non-stop global propaganda across every single screen on planet Earth, just to make sure everyone thinks our new Greenland acquisition is a fantastic idea.
But that brings us to what I call the philanthropy problem.
Now, I know what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. Why act like a comic book supervillain? Just give the money away. It feels like that would be the easiest way to spend it all in 24 hours, right? Well, let's systematically try to tackle the world's biggest issues with our remaining cash. Ending world hunger by 2030? That would cost an estimated $40 billion a year. Okay, we can absolutely afford that. Erasing all U.S. medical debt? Actually very cheap, at roughly $2.2 billion. But then, look at student loans. That's $1.777 trillion. Or how about the U.S. national debt, which is currently sitting at a staggering $36 trillion. All of a sudden, our supposedly infinite pile of cash hits a very hard mathematical wall. Turns out, even $1 trillion hits its limits when you pit it against the world's biggest financial black holes.
But hey, let's say we still want to help out the U.S. government by casually throwing, say, $220 billion their way to chip away at that debt. So you go over to their official donation website, pay.gov, to make your heroic contribution. And guess what happens? You hit the most hilarious bureaucratic bottleneck. The Treasury's website actually caps online donations at exactly $1 million. You literally cannot give the government your billions fast enough. I mean, giving them $1 million is basically like buying the military a bag of screws from Lockheed Martin.
Beyond that, philanthropy gets incredibly complicated from a purely economic standpoint. Just look at this contrast. Because medical debt is typically sold off to collections for literally pennies on the dollar, charities can erase massive amounts of it incredibly efficiently. Like we said, just $2.2 billion wipes out all U.S. medical debt, which is amazing. But if we try to just blanket pay off student loans, the second universities realize some trillionaires out there just bailing everyone out, they would almost certainly just jack up their tuition prices even higher. It creates a massive economic trap. Not to mention it would seriously frustrate older generations who had to pay their own way. So as it turns out, giving away an astronomical amount of money effectively is almost as hard as building a massive business in the first place.
And suddenly, we are almost out of time.
We are burning right through our 24 hours, and we still have tens of billions of dollars left to spend. The terrifying reality really begins to set in here. 24 hours is simply not enough time to move this much capital. And to truly grasp why this is so incredibly hard, you have to consider the passive income of a trillionaire. Think about this. Nearly 37% of Americans can't afford an unexpected $400 expense. But when you have $1 trillion sitting there, your money is working for you so fast that your passive income earns you $400 every 0.126 seconds. You are generating life-changing money in literally a fraction of a second. It never stops.
The sheer absurdity of this scale is just wild. Look, the median net worth for an American under 35 is about $39,000.
As a trillionaire, you could literally swap out your bathroom toilet paper for rolls of $39,000 bills. Use that for your entire lifetime, and you still wouldn't even put a dent in your finances. No way. It's a scale of wealth that operates on horizons completely incomprehensible to the normal paycheck-to-paycheck human experience.
So, the crucial point is, we absolutely need a loophole here. If we can't realistically spend it all on yachts, giant media empires, and medical debt in a single day, there is really only one true way to spend this much money before the clock runs out. You have to buy more time. So here's the play. Step 1, you quickly establish a trust. Step 2, you safely dump all of your remaining billions right into it, which technically spends it away from your personal immediate possession. And Step 3, you finally go to sleep on the world's most expensive bed. By doing that, you've successfully locked away the capital, perfectly saving it from that brutal 24-hour deadline. And now you can launch massive space programs, completely clean up the oceans, or fund humanity-shifting institutions at your own pace. Which leaves us with this final head-spinning thought. If 24 hours isn't even close to enough time to spend $1 trillion, what could you actually do with it over an entire lifetime? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this completely changed how you view extreme wealth, and I'll see you next time.